I'm 50 years old, make minimum wage, and live in my car. Ask me anything about a lifetime of poor decisions.
Before we start, be sure to like and subscribe to be the first to know about new videos. Comment your answer below.
Is there anything holding you down where you are? You might look to coolworks.com to find some seasonal or full-time work. Most of the jobs also offer housing and food for a bite out of your paycheck. I used them for 13 years to work in national parks, ski resorts and other seasonal/resort/adventure type jobs. They are often hurting for employees and will give felons a chance. I think as long as you weren't diddling kids or wearing people's skin like a party dress, you stand a decent chance of landing a job. If you have questions, hit me up. I'm staying where I'm at for at least the next couple of years because of my kids. I might look into it eventually. Do they hire old people? I never skied, but I always those ski bums were young kids. How did you end up in this situation? And what did you want to be when you were growing up? I had a highly paid but very dangerous job in my late 20s and early 30s. When my ex-wife's dad retired, he offered us the chance to take over his hotel/restaurant in her hick hometown. We did it because it seemed like a good business and I was getting too old/beat up for my job. After 12 years there, she divorced me, so I lost my job there and can't get hired anywhere else since I'm old and a felon. So I decided to stay in her town and work at the old Golden Arches so I can be close to my kids until they're 18. When I was a little kid I wanted to be an astronaut, but by the time I was 12-13 I only wanted to get high and be a big-time drug dealer. When I was a little kid I wanted to be an astronaut, but by the time I was 12-13 I only wanted to get high and be a big-time drug dealer. Well, I am sure you have made it to space, one way or another. So at least you have that. Lol, very true. Pretty sure tripping in Nevada counts as being on Jupiter. I've seen enough bleep to have me thinking inner space is a lot more interesting than outer space. Hey man. You said you were a convicted felon in an earlier comment. What happened? I'm also curious how you were exposed to drugs at the age of 12-13? A couple of drug cases and a home invasion. All 20+ years ago with nothing except one misdemeanor since. I had a friend with an older brother who I started smoking pot with in 6th grade, and then I quickly progressed to harder bleep. Pretty soon he started giving me stuff to sell to the middle schoolers since he was in high school. It just kind of progressed from there. How's your drug situation now? Clean or still on some? I haven't messed with anything except alcohol and weed for over a year. Was clean for 15 years before that but relapsed for a few months after the divorce. What was the reason for the divorce? Can you elaborate a little on that? Basically she left me for another dude. Ouch. Do you think it had anything to do with you? Or was it purely because she just happened to fall for another dude? How did you meet your wife in first place? I'd be in denial if I said it had nothing to do with me. When I was working as a fisherman I'd have a 7-on-3 off schedule. She was the waitress at the diner I'd always go to as soon as I got dropped off. I eventually convinced her to spend the weekend with me. Are you intending on living in your car for the rest of your life, or do you have plans? My kids are 15 and 13, once they're a little older I'll probably hit the road for a while, see if anything happens. My mom has also invited me to move in with her, but she's over 2,000 miles away. I might take her up on it eventually. Cool. They're both great ages. I hope everything works out for you. There are 2 advantages to living with your mom. I assume she's getting up there and want you around to take care of her. First, the state will pay you to take care of her. Second, free rent. With good health and the fire of passion, you can still catch up to whatever you want to do. Keep your chin up, man. 50 is the new 30. We live longer now. Haha, my lungs say otherwise, but I'm taking it a day at a time. How are you today, man? Pretty good. Got off work, bought a 6-pack, and watching Breaking Bad, so life's alright. Have a good life, man. Bleep, you must be excited for the new movie then? October 11th. Very excited. I'm rewatching so I remember it all. What would you have done differently with your life? Are you happy with the way you live? I do a lot differently. I honestly don't know what I wish I would have done, but not spending my 20s locked up would have been a start. I was in jail from 21 to 25, and had served about 2 years in 5 stints, counting juvie, for minor stuff before then. Losing all that time at the start of my life definitely put me behind in a lot of ways. I also wish I'd finished school. I was always really good at school, but I quit because I wanted to move down to the beach with my friends at 17. I'm not happy with the way I live, obviously. But it is what it is. Where are you able to park your car? What are the less obvious struggles of living in a vehicle? I park at the Walmart most nights. They don't mind as long as it doesn't look like I'm permanently living there. The guy who owns the campground lets me park there for $3 if I sleep in my car, and I get to shower there in the morning. I don't think people appreciate how hard it is to cook stuff. I have a double burner stove, but it draws attention to use, so I also eat a lot of fast food. How much money do you have saved up? Surely you must have a decent amount of money from the 10 years in the restaurant? Pretty much nothing. I was stupid rich when I worked on the fishing boats and bought a lot of unnecessary shit like new, huge lifted trucks, gold teeth, guns, wild Vegas weekends, that sort of shit. I also had to make child support payments for my oldest kid on top of that. Even with as much as I was making, I was in debt when I met my ex. The restaurant was never a big money maker, it just kept food in our gut and a roof over our head, which she took. Go back into fishing. Unless you can captain, the fishing industry is a young man's game. It's brutal on the body. Yep. That's why I got out and haven't gone back. What's the worst decision you've made, and any advice for those heading towards the same problem? Single worst? Breaking into what I thought was the home of a guy who ripped me off on a front but actually was the home of the dude's parents. That was what landed me in prison. But also doing lots of speed and opiates and dropping out of school. So yeah, don't do meth, don't drop out, don't commit armed robbery. Although I feel like that goes without saying for most people. Also, don't put all of your eggs in a basket someone else is holding. I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in right now if I'd listened to that. Can you tell me about something in your life that brings you joy / are grateful for? My kids, living in the mountains, and not being in jail. That's one thing I got from being locked up. Every day you're free is a good enough day. All things considered, that seems like a pretty good life.
You have been visited by Sad Cat. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to make Sad Cat happy again.